Hello, thank you for coming here. My name is Jaehyeok from POSTECH in South Korea. In this talk, I will present an automatic method for generating haptic motion effects expressing human dance. For the content, it's an extremely immersive form of entertainment, providing multisensory effects such as motion, vibration, and wind effects with audiovisual content. For the applications are getting more popular and common. We are focusing on generating the object-based motion effect, which is one of the most frequent for the effect. In this case, a motion chair applies physical movement to the viewer's body to emphasize the movement of interesting objects on the screen. In this work, we present an automatic algorithm to generate object-based motion effects when you have the motion trajectories of the virtual dancer in the scene. Dance has no language barriers in conveying emotion and thought. Its universality has driven technological advancements that afford more immersive and interactive dance viewing experiences. For example, K-pop has led to the release of various VR dance content. With the VR 180 cameras, they provide a wide-angle view for an immersive experience, and a popular idol group has offered their concerts in VR. Motion effects are highly suitable because they allow our vestibular system to physically experience dancers' dynamic movement. However, research on other multisensory effects is still immature. Indeed, previous studies have shown the ability to generate motion effects from human body movement. In this process, it is crucial to compress complex, high degree of freedom body movements into simpler, lower degree of freedom chair motions. This process, known as motion proxy, is a key step in creating object-based motion effects. Motion proxy refers to the process of combining multiple movements into a single one. Since not all human movement can be expressed on a chair, the dancer's movement must be compressed to fit the degrees of freedom allowed by the chair. Hansworth published in Kai 2023 designed a motion proxy to represent multiple articulated bodies. They compressed the movement of all links into a single net vector in camera space and converted it into motion effect. They demonstrate the feasibility of their approach in various scenarios. However, our observations show that their algorithm is not well suited for expressing complex and dynamic movements, particularly those of a dancer. Thus, our work follows a general framework of previous research, but analyzes the dancer's movement, separates movement into external and internal movements, and designs a motion proxy independently for each movement. This aims to maximize the expressiveness and clarity of motion effects expressing human dance. Before going into detail, I will show you a short demonstration of our work. When generating motion effects from a dancer's movement, we consider two types of movement. First, external movement refers to transformation from frame 0 to frame 1, which includes the translation and rotation of the dancer's entire body in world space. Internal movement involves the motions of all body links except for the base. The reason we consider both types of movement is that external movement can mask internal movement in world space. In this figure, you can see the result of the dance choreography from the previous slide, where the large external movement of the body makes the internal movement appear insignificant. Properly representing internal movement in motion effects requires independent processing from external movement. To independently extract internal movement, we must first define external movement. External movement represents the entire motion of the body in world space, since they appear uniformly across all links, so it doesn't matter which link is selected. However, since all links also contain internal movement, external movement may not be properly extracted in world space. To address this, we introduced the concept of a virtual link. This link is positioned outside the body to minimize the influence of internal movement. At frame 0, PVL represent the endpoints of the virtual link, which are then converted into translation motion commands. We have implemented various processing methods for this conversion, but we will skip these details here. Please refer to the paper for more information. In the world coordinate system, both external and internal movements are observable. However, in the tensor's internal coordinate system, the base node, external movements are no longer present. This allows internal movement to be extracted independently in the base node. The problem still remains that internal movement may cancel out other colliding internal movements in the base node. In this choreography, for example, the upper body movement and lower body movement are in opposite directions. If a single proxy were to merge these two movements in the base node, the result would be close to zero. Therefore, we create multiple proxies for internal movement. As shown here, we divide the body into 4 segments: arm, shoulder, torso, and leg. Each proxy merges the non-colliding movement of the links within each respective segment. Then, using weights, we combine the movement of the 4 segments into a single motion, which is used for the rotational axis command of the motion effect. This approach minimizes the collision problem caused by internal movement in different segments. Let me elaborate further. Vs refers to the motion proxy for a single segment. This proxy combines the rotational angle vector of all links within the segment, normalized by their relative area. The larger the link, the greater the weight assigned, which is the method proven to provide the best user experience in previous study. The motion proxies for the 4 segments are combined into one, as seen on the right, by an additional weight, Ws. We implemented 3 weighting policies for merging the segments and conducted a user study to identify the best policy. Here's the thing, the uniform policy merges the segments at equal ratios. The salient policy assigns the more weight to segments with higher speed, and the selective policy used only the fastest segment. We conducted a within-subject experiment with 20 participants, comparing 3 types of motion effects across 4 different dance genres: ballet, hip-hop, nitty, and charleston. 6 subjective metrics were used: harmony, causality, detail, fatigue, distraction, and preference. The experiment results revealed that the selective scored higher in harmony and detail than the uniform. Since selective relies on a single segment, the issue of values being obscured by other segments was minimized. However, because it only represents one segment, it was perceived as more distracting and less cohesive compared to the uniform, which captures more comprehensive movement. Salient served as an intermediate solution. Consequently, no preference differences were found among the 3 conditions. However, the 3 motion effect shows a high degree of causality, enabling the motion effect to occur at the user's desired timing. We conducted another experiment comparing the 2 previous studies with selective, which demonstrate higher expressiveness. Aside from the 3 motion effect conditions and a different set of 20 participants, the experimental procedure was the same as before. Our algorithm, selective, demonstrates substantially higher scores in all user experience measures compared to the previous works. It is important to note that, despite its high expressiveness and clarity, our algorithm minimizes negative effects. This result suggests that the features we developed to represent human dances are effective in generating motion effects. In conclusion, we propose a new motion effect assorting algorithm for expressing human dance. We separate the external and internal movement of the dancer to maximize the expressiveness and clarity of the motion effect. This research can be directly applied to the 4D movies and can also be extended to create multisensory interaction for new VR dance content. This work is done with my advisor Seungmoon Choi. This is the end of my talk. Thank you for watching it.